Hello and welcome to the NTN Midday Update. Thank you so much for joining us. We are on air and online. And if you're joining us on any one of those platforms, we thank you so much for tuning in. At this time, we have an update coming from the National Insurance Corporation. We have it usually every Thursday afternoon, and we do hope that we can get, some meaningful update as usual to give to the public. In studio, we have, as usual, Mrs. Sue-Ann Shawry Payne and Mr. McNaughton McLean, head of Group Internal Audit and Communications Manager, respectively. We've had so far received an update from the authorities that some 1,433 employees of hotels have returned to work. We will be finding out what does that mean for the economic relief program. This is certainly just a drop in the bucket in terms of the thousands that have been laid off due to the effects of the coronavirus. But in the meantime, I just want to say a good afternoon to you both.
Good afternoon, and thanks for having us once again.
Good afternoon, Sue-Ann, to you too. And just to get an update initially on the statistics so far in terms of the sum so far disbursed, as well as the individuals so the number of individuals that have received monies and up to which months.
Oh, absolutely. Thanks. We're always happy to be here on NTN to provide the public with an update on the Economic Relief Program, which of course was introduced to help St. Lucians and particularly NIC contributors navigate the economic hardships brought about by the coronavirus pandemic. As of the 11th of August, we have processed a total of 41,958 applications. Of that total, 3,325 claims were disallowed. We still have 305 claims which are on query for whatever reason. Some of them are missing information either from the employer, perhaps banking information from the employee, but or there are some issues that require clarification. So 305 claims are on query. The total number of individuals paid to date is 38,328. The total amount paid to date, $34.5 million, and the average pay per individual is $899.54. Now remember, the ERP the payout is based on information which was supplied by the applicant as well as the employer via the NIC employer portal. And we have gone through great lengths to explain the issues that would cause delay in making payments. So one of the key aspects or key elements would be the information provided by the employer. And via the employer portal, our last appearance here on NTN, we provided you some update. We have had some changes, and we also indicated that we were now sending correspondence directly to every employer. And I think that has worked tremendously in reducing the number of updates or claims pending updates from the employers. So the total number of employers registered in the portal is 1,367. The employers with absolutely no upload, that is employers who registered in the portal but are yet to submit any information on behalf of their employees for the period in question from April up until this time, we have 39. Now that is down significantly. The last time we were here, Jesse, that number was at 119. So the emails clearly are working, and the employers are responding to it. Employers with no update for the month of May is at 266, and that is down from 613 when we last appeared on NTN. The total employers with no update for the month of June, 282, and that's also down from 718. And employers for the month of July is 524. So without that information, your claim will certainly be delayed, and we hope that the employers will continue to provide the information, and those who are yet to do so will submit that information to us via the portal.
Okay. Thanks for that, Mr. McNaughton McLean, Communications Manager. I now head on over to Head of Group Internal Audit at the NIC. Good day to you again, Ms. Suhan Charlery Payne. We've received word from the Ministry of Tourism that 1,433 employees of hotels have so far returned to work. If you could just give us an understanding of what that means for the economic relief program. Certainly not an end to it, because there are still thousands more who are still beneficiaries of the program who are still laid off. But if you could speak to us to what it means for these individuals who have returned to work, how would they be continue to be dealt with by the NIC?
Okay, good afternoon. Thanks again for having us. Okay, so the process starts by the employer informing NIC that those individuals that they would have uploaded for have since returned to work or their layoff period has ended. Those persons would be paid up to the time they were laid off. In cases where the period straddles, so for example, they returned to work mid-month, so say mid-August, maybe they just returned to work mid-August, they would be processed up to August, pending information from the employer as to how much they would have been earning for the month of August, and that would be seen as the financial benefit that they would have gotten and would be treated as normal up to August. September, they would not be entitled to an economic relief because they would have returned to full employment.
Okay, and I head back over to you, Mr. McLean. In terms of the economic relief program, just before the program started, we were talking about the life of this venture. And if you could just give us some insight as to any projections that the NIC might have as we look at the impact of coronavirus, also the exchanges that the NIC might be having with the government of St. Lucia as well, as to the life of this venture in terms of helping persons who have been displaced by the effects of the pandemic.
Well, the life of, remember, we had an extension from June. The initial period covered April, May, and June, and there was the extension which now covers July, August, and September. So we anticipate working through to September to make the payouts to qualifying applicants up until September. Well, we do anticipate with the reopening of the economy that we will see a reduction perhaps in the number of individual applicants receiving the payout. We don't anticipate it will be a huge number. You indicated 1,000, or just over 1,400 or so from the hotel sector. That's in comparison to perhaps 13,000, 14,000 employees that are employed in that sector. So while we will continue to make the payouts to the qualifying applicants, we do anticipate with the reopening of the economy that we will see some reduction in the number of persons actually receiving payouts from perhaps July up until September.
Okay, coming from you today, we're hearing 1,367 employers have submitted information on their employees. They've been dutiful in that respect.
That's that should be 1,367 who registered.
Who registered.
Yes, and as not all of those who've registered, we have a number of at least 39 to date who are yet to provide any information.
So the difference being 39 employers. 39
employers. Yeah, we don't know how many employees that would affect because an employer may employ.
Understandably.
Yes, so because of
That's
that.
for all the months.
Understandably.
Yeah.
But the employers, if you could indicate at this point in time the importance of updating their information, because we're hearing that 1,433 employees have returned to work, and that's employees who perhaps would have been benefiting from the ERP. And what would employers need to do at this point in time, if not also employees, in terms of reporting this change of circumstances to the NIC?
You want to take this one, Swan?
Yes. Okay, so employers are expected to return to the portal and update the end layoff date. So they would have indicated when the employees would have started their layoff period. The end layoff date would indicate to NIC that those persons have returned to work. Some employers are responding to the emails indicating that those employees have since returned to work, but they're also required to go into the portal and update the respective field in there, informing us.
Okay. We are speaking to Mr. McNaughton McLean, Communications Manager, and Mrs. Sue-Ann Shalry-Payne, Head of Group Internal Audit from the NIC, giving us an update on the Economic Relief Program being rolled out by the institution. Up to this point, we've seen $34.5 million being disbursed under the Economic Relief Program to persons who have been displaced due to the effects of the coronavirus pandemic. We will be coming up right after this break, speaking more on the NIC swooping in to be of assistance at this time. And also we will be taking some of your queries, questions, commendations in the Facebook Live. So if you have one of those, you could just come onto our Facebook Live if you're not there yet, and just post your question to us, and we will try to have Mr. McLean or Mrs. Shalry-Payne answer for us today. So do stay tuned for that and more coming up after this break.
We at war with the virus, ready to harm us. Panic is not the answer. We can win this together.
Often use hand sanitizer, better yet use soap and water.
We must protect each other if we are to beat this corona.
Together let us win this war. Be a soldier for St. Lucia. Together let us win this war. Be a soldier, together we can beat this corona.
So you don't become the next case. Avoid touching your face. I'm sure you've been told so. Handshakes and hugging are no.
Advice give you the please. Cover your mouth and your nose if you cough or sneeze.
Practice social distancing and avoid large social gatherings.
Together let us win this war. Be a soldier for St. Lucia. Together let us win this war. St. Lucia, be a soldier. Together we can beat this corona.
For further information, please contact the hotline at 311 or the Bureau of Health Education at 468-5349.
Thank you so much for staying tuned. This is the NTN Midday Update live from the GIS studios. We are speaking to Mrs. Sue-Ann Shalry-Payne, Head of Group Internal Audit, and Mr. McNaughton McLean from the Communications Desk of the NIC. And they're just giving us an update this week on the Economic Relief Program. Initially, at the start of this program, we did hear that so far, $34.5 million has been dispersed under the Economic Relief Program. But in real time, we have an update on the sum of monies that have so far been given to persons who have been displaced due to the effects of the coronavirus pandemic. Mr. McLean?
As they say, hot off the press. Just coming in, we initially reported on the payout of $34.5 million. So that was as of the 11th. So the latest statistics just coming to hand as at the 13th of August is $36.2 million. $36.2 million, and that payout covers 15,805 individuals, and the average payout is also up to $908.22. That's the average payout per individual. So we certainly have seen a bump there from 34.5 to $36.2 million.
Okay. Thank you very much for that update. And we continue with this morning the regular updates from the NIC, accepting your questions, your queries, commendations, if you have any for the NIC based off of the Economic Relief Program. We do have a question that is unrelated, and I just want to engage you, Mr. McLean, on that matter. Someone is asking, in terms of maternity leave, do they receive their maternity leave payout from the NIC month by month, or is it given in a lump sum?
The payout covers a 3-month period and is paid monthly. This is for maternity benefits.
Okay, thanks for that. Just continuing with an update, general update on the Economic Relief Program that we're receiving from the NIC so far. Mrs. Shalry-Payne, you did indicate that there still seems to be some confusion between the income support program being administered by the government of St. Lucia and the economic relief program being administered by the NIC. Can you just reinforce this very important point?
Yes. Okay. So the income support program administered by the government of St. Lucia, persons seem to be calling NIC requesting a status update on the application. We are unable to provide any information on that. Based on our understanding, persons would be contacted directly through various platforms on the government's end, whether it be by text or WhatsApp, to inform persons on the status of the application. NIC's role, we do assist by providing whatever information is needed in the processing of those applications, but NIC is not responsible for making the final decision on any of those applications. We facilitate, but we don't make it, nor do we make the payments. So persons who are interested in an update on the status of the application, that would be done via the government.
Yes. I must also add, Suan, that we turn around the information that is requested within a very short time frame, within 24 hours. And so we try our best to provide that information as soon as possible so that the claims can be processed.
Okay. And there's also a caveat in the income support program that if you're going to be a beneficiary, that is the government administered program, if you're going to be a beneficiary, then you need to sign up for the NIC. Have you so far received that?
Okay, so that is on the back end. So it's not something that is expected for persons to qualify, but rather persons who have benefited. Within 3 months of returning to trade, they're expected to contact the NIC to register as a self-employed and enjoy the numerous benefits that contributors of the NIC enjoy. Right now, it is not mandatory for self-employed persons to be registered and contributing to NIC. And for that reason, they have not been able to benefit from, say, our economic relief had they been contributors. So, and the numerous other benefits that NIC has. So that is what that caveat relates to. Within 3 months of returning to trade, not now until then.
Okay. As we await additional comments, queries, and concerns, Mr. McLean, if you could just go over the latest statistics coming from the NIC as at this afternoon.
Well, the number of individuals we have to have benefited from the program, 15,805. The total payout so far, $36.2 million, and the average pay per individual increased to $908.22, and that is up from $899.54. That's the latest update.
Thank you for that. And we do have a question coming from Anisha Emmanuel on our Facebook Live. If someone's claim was disallowed for the month of April because the NIC said the amount paid to the employee by the employer was higher than the amount the NIC would pay, so which means the month of May, the person would get the balance right, but the month of June, the amount was supposed to be reevaluated, so which means the applicant's supposed to receive a higher amount for the month of June. They're asking if they're right or if they're wrong. I'm not sure if you can make sense of the words that I just spoke.
Yes, that is one of the cases. So the applicant would be assessed every month on the merit of the information coming to us. Whether or not they receive a higher or lower amount would depend on whether or not they're in receipt of any financial assistance. If they continue to be unemployed, the employer has uploaded and indicated to us that they are unemployed and there's no financial assistance, then yes, it is reasonable to assume that the amount that they should be paid under the economic relief would be higher than a previous month. However, we need to take into account many circumstances may impact the amount that is paid. For example, if that person is also in receipt of another benefit under the NIC, I don't know, it might be. That might reduce the amount. But regularly, if that individual is unemployed, is not receiving any other financial assistance, then the amount paid should be higher than the previous month. However, in the previous month, they didn't receive anything because it was April, they received nothing because the financial assistance exceeded the amount they would have been paid under the ERP. Say for April, that's what the individual said, right? So for May, if there's no financial assistance received and they qualify for the benefit, then yes, it would be in receipt of an amount.
Okay. A question I wanted to ask earlier, we're now seeing persons returning to work with the latest update that we received to the nation. What measures are in place by the NIC to be able to identify any unscrupulous activity on the part of, let's say, perhaps employers who may not update the information in the portal? How can you be able to identify that and take the necessary action?
Okay, part of NIC's process, we have a special department responsible for visiting employers and confirming the accuracy of the information that is provided to us. When we return to regular operations, that department will be returned to full effect. And at that point, if there's anything that comes to our attention during that, our regular audits, that may pick up on some of that information.
Okay, and speaking of regular operations, just give us an understanding of the atmosphere at the NIC, because earlier on, when Lisa spoke with you guys, we did get an understanding of what was happening, the mad rush at the NIC office to get the ERP on and going. But what obtains right now? We're doing a welfare check on the NIC.
Well, some of us are approaching burnout. The team continues to work hard, and we were unable to provide face-to-face operations because of the obvious shutdown and the protocols in place. But we are now back to, offering face-to-face operations, and there are some changes in keeping with, all the public health and safety policies that are in place by the Ministry of Health and Wellness. One of the things you will notice that you will not be allowed to enter any NIC office without wearing face masks. We are also carrying routine temperature checks. If your reading is above the normal temperature of 99 degrees Fahrenheit or 37.2
degrees,
right? It is considered safe. If you're over that, then you will not be permitted to enter. I guess anyone who refuses to get their temperature checked will not be allowed entry. We also placed markings to ensure that we maintain the safe social distancing. We've also instituted maximum load capacity within the customer service areas in the NIC to ensure that we maintain that 6 feet distance. And we've erected a 40 by 20 tent outside the NIC to accommodate overflow. So we didn't want anybody standing outside in the hot sun. So we've erected a huge tent, and there are markings where the chairs are placed to ensure that we can maintain that 6 feet distance. And that is at the Castries office, which is where we have the bulk of our visitors. Of course, these are some of we also put in place things like plexiglass dividers to ensure the safety of our staff and the contributors, as well as the persons they come into contact with, to ensure that we put all measures in place to stop or slow the spread of COVID-19. Now, these precautionary measures are necessary, and we know sometimes it can be frustrating when people are thrown outside of their normal routine, but these are necessary steps. These are really necessary to ensure that we do everything in our power to control the spread of the COVID-19 virus.
Okay, thanks for that. We seem to be having a population that is by and large more than ever understanding of the NIC's economic relief program, because our Facebook Live is rather quiet.
That is the case that is the observation too. And I think people now understand the issues. And now the first thing they ask when they call to inquire about their claim, did my employer upload? That's the first question they'll ask. So now they're familiar with pointed questions. They know the processes and they understand it now. And I think we understand people's difficulty. I know it is really hard out there. I listen to the stories. I sit and try to assist everyone. We outside and people stop you all along and to ask you about the process of what you can do. We listen, so we understand the process and we try our best. So sometimes at 2 o'clock I see an email coming in, I pretend I don't see it, but at 2 o'clock, but even then I read it, So, people are working, we are working, we want to assure the public that we are working hard to ensure that we make the payouts because we understand the financial difficulties that people are under during this difficult time.
Suan, any words?
Yes, so just for clarification, so NIC continues its regular operations.
Okay.
So it's business as usual at NIC in addition to the economic relief. The department that carries out the investigation is the one who is heavily involved in the processing, and that is why the regular audit part is delayed until the end of the economic relief. But everything else, the customer service, the account department, and they need to double end on their regular operations and facilitating the processing of ERP. So that is what has caused, I guess, a lot more effort to be put in. One of the questions we had before, I'm not sure whether persons are clear on those individuals who are concerned, those on the query with us, where they're saying that they contributed or they believe they contributed and our records do not indicate that. Persons were concerned as to, how does NIC treat those or would treat those. Because currently they wouldn't qualify on that because we don't have information to support that. We are committed to carrying out the necessary investigations. Once this come to our attention, we do have an appeals process, but that would take place a little after. However, we committed before the year end to put closure. If the investigations reveal that those persons are entitled, they would get the payout.
I know the legislation is pretty ironclad, but could you speak to any revelations that the COVID-19 and by extension the ERP has brought to the fore in terms of keeping a close eye on not only just from the NIC standpoint, but the employees, keeping a close eye on how contributions come in terms of watching your pay slip, so on and so forth.
Right. Well, we're hoping that would have, employees would have recognized the importance of ensuring that our records are correctly represent whatever contributions they would have made. We encourage persons all along. Our customer service department is on hand. Persons can call to find out the status of their contributions on record and so on. We encourage persons to do that. It impacts the benefits that they would be entitled to going forward. So we hope that is one of those revelations coming out of the ERP.
Okay, wonderful. And with that, we just call this convening to a close. I'd like to thank you both, Mrs. Suan Chalri-Payne, Head of Group Internal Audit, and Mr. McNaughton McLean, Communications Manager at the National Insurance Corporation. Thank you so much for always coming through and giving us an update. I know at the height of things, you guys were under a lot of pressure to answer a lot of questions. But today, this week, we seem to be having a lot more St. Lucians understanding the ins and outs of the NIC Economic Relief Program. So thank you all for following the NIC updates as they came in every week. And we do hope that you did get the answers that you needed in terms on the end of the NIC. $36 million has so far been paid out under the Economic Relief Program. And that is that is no small amount. That is something that has definitely left an impact. And definitely persons have been able to tide their way through this COVID-19 situation, this pandemic, thanks to the Economic Relief Program. Once again, thanks to you both for sitting in this afternoon to give us these important updates. My name is Jessie Leon, signing off for now. This has been another NTN Midday Update. Do stay tuned for more programming from this channel. Goodbye. Well, there you have it.